So the anticipation of fall always makes me want to bake. So I thought I would share with y'all my recipe for my banana pumpkin butter bread. I'm excited to share it with y'all. Let's get started. So I have 2 ripened bananas that are mashed, and I like to make sure that they're very ripe because it makes a better bread, a sweeter bread. Okay, so I'm gonna add in a cup of brown sugar. I like to add that in with my wet ingredients because it just kind of helps, I think, the sugar dissolve. Okay, we're gonna get that mixed up. And I'm gonna add in 2 beaten eggs. So anytime I bake, I like to beat my eggs first. I just think it helps them blend better and incorporate better. And then I add in a 1/2 cup of pumpkin butter. So I'm gonna use pumpkin butter instead of pumpkin puree. That just gives it a richer flavor. I came up with this recipe once because I only had 2 bananas for my banana bread instead of 3, and so I decided, well, I'll just make pumpkin butter bread. Okay, so we have a stick of melted butter. And then I'm gonna do a teaspoon of vanilla. Y'all know I don't never measure my vanilla. Okay. So I've got all the wet ingredients mixed. Now I'm gonna take a 1.5 cups of flour, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. And I'm also gonna take a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a teaspoon of baking soda. Anytime I bake, I just like to mix all my dry ingredients together first. And then especially like if you're making something like this, the more you mix it, the denser it gets. So you don't want dense bread. Okay. So let's get that mixed up. It smells like fall. Now you can add a 1/2 cup of nuts to this at this point if you like, but my family prefers not to have nuts in their bread. I know, I don't understand that either. Okay, so it's always better to bake your bread in a metal pan, and I have sprayed my pan with Baker's Joy, and then I have heavily coated it with cinnamon and sugar because that's how my mom always does it. And it makes the most delicious crust on your bread. Okay, so oh, smells so good. We're just gonna even that out, and I'm gonna bake this at 350 for 50 minutes. Okay, so I actually ended up baking this for 55 minutes instead of 50. And then I've let this cool for about 10 minutes. That way it's easier to handle. Plus the bread just flips out better. And this is so moist and tender. My house smells like a Hallmark movie. Okay, so I'm gonna make some butter for it, some honey butter. So I have a stick of room temperature butter. And I'm just gonna start mashing that with a fork. Just to give it a little something to serve with. Okay, and then I'm gonna add maybe about 2 tablespoons or so of honey. Just to your liking. You could also add cinnamon to this, but I'm just doing honey because there's already so much cinnamon and spice in the bread. Okay. And I'm just gonna put that in a serving dish. Okay, so that is how I make my banana pumpkin butter bread. It's my recipe. I can't wait for you to try it. Let me know how you love it in the comments.